Good day. I am Rica May de la Cruz,
And I am Heidi Shannon Lacamra,
and we are going to report about
Botryophocaines from Botryophocus brownie as a renewable source of liquid fuel like gasoline, kerosene, and diesel. Like most green algae, bee brownie is capable of producing great amounts of hydrocarbon oils in a very small land area. Bee brownie algae show particular promise not just because of their high production of oil but also because of the type of oil they produce. While many high oil producing algae create vegetable type oils, the oil from bee brownie, also known as Botryophocaines, are similar to petroleum. This picture shows scientific classification of Botryophocus brownie. It is belong to kingdom Plantae under the division of Chlorophyta. Chlorophyta because it is a green algae. The cosmopolitan nature of the algae is confirmed by the strains originating in the USA, Portugal, Bolivia, France, Ivory Coast, Morocco, Philippines, Thailand, and the West Indies. Based doon sa geographical regions, these countries belong to various climate zones katulad ng continental, temperate, tropical, and alpine zones. Therefore, bee brownie may exist and may grow in all continents regardless sa climate na meron sila. This is what bee brownie looks like. It is approximately 50 micrometer. Bee brownie is regarded as a potential source of renewable fuel because of its ability to produce large amount of hydrocarbons. This is Botryophocaines. Kapag nag-undergo ng hydrocracking, may produce paraffins, naphthins, olefins, and aromatics. Pag nag-undergo ng distillation, may produce gasoline, kerosene, diesel, and residuals at certain temperatures. Sa gasoline, 40 to 205 degrees Celsius, kerosene, 175 to 325 degrees Celsius, diesel, 250 to 350 degrees Celsius, residuals, which is napoproduce kapag greater than 600 degrees Celsius in temperature. The fuel derived from bee brownie hydrocarbons are chemically identical to gasoline, diesel, and kerosene. To produce these fuels from bee brownie, the hydrocarbons are processed exactly the same as petroleum is processed, and thus generates the exact same fuels. Remember, these bee brownie hydrocarbons are main constituent of petroleum, so there is no difference other than the petroleum million of years spent underground. These are the races of bee brownie. Race A produces odd-numbered carbon ranging from 25 to 31. This includes alkadienes and trienes. Race B produces triterpenoid hydrocarbons known as Botryophocaines, carbon ranging from 30 to 37. Race L produces lycopodiene AC40 tetraterpene. So, yung race B, dito kabilang yung Botryophocaines na nakakaproduce ng mga fuels. While yung race A at race L naman, hindi sila nakakaproduce ng liquid fuels. Races of bee brownie. Nature of hydrocarbons, ito na yung nabanggit ko kanina. While yung colony color of stationary phase, this is the color of the bee brownie during stationary phase, kasi kapag mobile phase, kapag magalaw sila, they are green. So sa race A, pale yellow or green yung color niya. Tapos sa race B and L naman, orange reddish or orange brownish due to accumulation of carotenoids. Tapos present yung long chain of alkyl phenol sa race A, while absent naman sa race B and L. Nature of biopolymers. In race A and race B, very long aliphatic chains cross-linked by ether bridges and bearing fatty esters, while in race L, tetraterpenoid cross-linked by ether bridges. The major characteristic hydrocarbons produced by race B of bee brownie. These are the hydrocarbons and their structures. Sa carbon 30, mapapansin nyo, straight chain siya with branches. Tapos yung carbon 31 naman, same lang din. Then eto namang wall piscine natin, nagkaroon na siya ng ring. Then sa isowolfisine, different yung orientation ng ring niya. So, sa carbon-32, merong straight chain, meron din naman yung magivokines na nagkaroon din ng ring. Tapos, dito naman sa isobronysine, same sila katulad nito ng magivokines, pero iba lang din yung orientation ng ring niya. Tapos, yung carbon-33, ito naman yung structure niya.
Ito yung process flow diagram mula sa cultivation of bee brownie hanggang sa conversion to liquid fuel. So una, yung growth of microalgae na pwedeng gawin into different systems. Sunod yung harvesting of microalgae. Ito yung pag-gather ng microalgae mula sa system. Tapos sunod yung extraction of oil from bee brownie. Tapos sunod yung oil for processing, which includes the hydrocracking and distillation, which is the same treatment na ginagawa sa mga petroleum. For algae to grow, a few relatively simple conditions have to be met: light, carbon, water, nutrients, and a suitably controlled temperature. Cultivation of algae. Yung kaninang binanggit ko, yun yung mga conditions na kailangan para mabuhay yung mga microalgae. Ito naman, ito yung mga factors na gagawin para bumilis yung growth rate ng mga algae. So, una yung light. Kailangan ng light para sa photosynthesis process. In temperature, there's an ideal temperature range for algae to grow. Yung medium or nutrients, this is the composition of the water na kino-consider katulad ng salinity. Yung pH, algae typically need a pH between 7 and 9 to have an optimum growth rate. Yung algae type naman, kasi at different types of algae, they have different growth rates. Sa aeration, the algae need to have contact with air for its CO2 requirements. Mixing naman, the mixing prevents sedimentation of algae and makes sure all cells are equally exposed to light. Yung photoperiod, ito yung light and dark cycles. So, approximately, for every 1 ton ng biomass ng algae, kailangan ng 1.8 tons of CO2 para mag-grow sila. The natural dissolution of CO2 from the air into water is not enough. This could be improved by bubbling air through the water. But since air contains about 0.0383% of CO2, all of the CO2 in about 37,000 cubic meter air is needed for 1 ton of dry algae. Yung light naman is ina-absorb ng algae kasi meron silang chloroplast na nagtatrap sa photons of light. Pag mataas yung concentration ng algae, possible na hindi ma-absorb ng iba yung sunlight, kaya hindi magiging equal yung growth. So therefore, less concentration of algae is desired para maging equal yung growth all over. Microalgae, aside from CO2 and light, kinakailangan din nila ng mga nutrients para mag-grow. So, yung nitrogen and phosphorus, they are the most important one. Modified medium, na tinatawag na 213 medium, is often used to culture bee brownie. 213 medium is a culture medium used in microbiology for the growth of certain algal species, first published by Espichu in 1942. It is used as growth medium for the biofuel candidate alga Botryococcus brownie. Ito yung composition ng modified 213 medium for 1 liter. So, it must be composed of the following. For example, yung potassium nitrate, dapat 400 mg for every liter, and so on. Yung remaining volume na matitira, it must be a deionized water para ma-maintain yung pH na 7.5. Temperature. Most commonly, cultured species of microalgae tolerate temperatures between 16 and 27 degrees Celsius. Mixing naman. Sa mixing, kanina sinabi ko na that it is necessary to prevent sedimentation of the algae. This is to ensure that all cells of the population are equally exposed to the light and nutrients, to avoid thermal stratification, and to improve gas exchange between the culture medium and the air. pH range for most cultured algal species is between 7 and 9, with the optimum range being 8.2 to 8.7. The pH of the culture medium in Botryococcus brownii is generally adjusted to between pH 7.4 and 7.6 before inoculation. A regular increase in pH is observed during active growth, followed by a slight decline later. The increase in pH is partly due to the consumption of dissolved CO2 for photosynthesis. Similar changes in pH are commonly observed in CO2-enriched cultures during exponential growth. The use naman ng NH4 as nitrogen source, nagkakos naman siya ng pagbaba ng pH na magiging less than pH 4. Tapos nagkakos yun ng damage sa cells. Pag nangyari yun, yung photosynthesis and hydrocarbon production are drastically diminished when the Brownie cells are exposed to NH3. Salinity. Most species grow best at a salinity that is slightly lower than that of their native habitat. Mangyayari lang yun pag dinilute yung seawater with tap water. Para ma-summarize lahat, ito yung general set of conditions para sa pagkukulture ng mga microalgae. Yung temperature, nagre-range ng 16 to 27. Yung optima is 18 to 24 degrees Celsius. Yung salinity naman, 12 to 40. Tapos yung optima is 20 to 24. The light intensity depends sa volume and the density is nag-range from 1,000 to 10,000 lux. Yung optima naman is from 2,500 to 5,000 lux. Yung photo period naman, yung light and dark hours, ang optima is 16 is to 8, tsaka 24 is to 0. pH naman is nagre-range from 7 to 9, tapos yung optima is from 8.2 to 8.7. There are two main methods of cultivation, yung pans tsaka photobioreactors. Yung pans, ito yung tinatawag na open system, tapos yung photobioreactors, ito yung closed system. Yung pans, since algae need sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water for their growth, they can be cultivated in open ponds and lakes. Yung open ponds can be categorized into natural waters and artificial ponds or containers. Sa artificial ponds, pwede rin, andun yung tinatawag na mga raceway na type of open ponds. Ito yung raceway pond. So, ang mga main na kailangan is sunlight, water, nutrients, and the CO2. Ito yung paddle wheel. So, the paddle wheel forces a circulating water flow through a long, narrow pond. Blowing gas bubbles through the medium provides both agitation and CO2. Air compressed CO2 or CO2 containing combustion gases can be applied. Ito yung approximate dimensional scale ng raceway pond. So, 190 meters in width and 650 meters in length. Ito yung mga example ng open cultivation system. Ito yung mga challenges or drawbacks sa open system. Yan. Una, yung pollution. So, maaari magkaroon ng mga soot flakes from furnaces of sugar factory o kaya ng mga heavy metals na pwedeng ma-accumulate ng algae. Tapos sunod, yung infection. Maaaring magkaroon ng mga parasites or protozoa, insect larvae, tsaka unwanted algae species na maaaring mag-cause ng loss ng culture. Tapos ang susunod is the poor CO2 usage. Dahil yung open system to, most of the CO2 bubbled into the pond might lost in the atmosphere. Tapos sunod, yung suboptimal use of land area. Kasi, yung open system, gumagamit ng two-dimensional surface area expansion, kaya malaking nakukonsume na area, unlike dun sa mga closed system na katulad ng photobioreactor na three-dimensional volume yung expansion, kaya hindi ganoon kalaki yung nakukonsume na area.
Photobioreactor is another type ng system sa pag-cultivate ng algae. A photobioreactor is a controlled system that incorporates some type of light source and channel depth and tube diameter in such reactors would be generally 10 cm. Criteria ng photobioreactor para sa algae. Una, delivery of light, delivery of CO2, delivery of nutrients, adequate mixing, optimal culture density. So, ito, yung light, CO2, nutrients, mixing, optimal culture density, kailangan kasi ng algae natin, yung light, CO2, nutrients, para sa growth nila. Kaya, kailangan i-provide yun ng photobioreactor para sa cultivation. So, dito, sa picture na to, pinapakita na dapat controlled yung light, nutrients, CO2, mixing, culture density, pH, temperature, flow rate, para dun sa growth ng algae, para mas maganda yung growth ng algae kaysa dun sa open system. This is how photobioreactor works. From the feeding vessel, the flow progresses to the diaphragm pump, which moderates the flow of the algae into the actual tube. Built into the pump is the CO2 inlet valve. The photobioreactor itself is used to promote biological growth by controlling environmental parameters including light. The tubes are made of acrylic and are designed to have light and dark intervals to enhance the growth rate. The photobioreactor has a built-in cleaning system that internally cleans the tubes without stopping the production. After the algae have completed the flow through the photobioreactor, it passes back to the feeding vessel. As it progresses through the process, the oxygen sensor determines how much oxygen has built up in the plant, and this oxygen is released in the feeding vessel itself. It is also at a stage that the optical cell density sensor determines the harvesting rate. When the algae are ready for harvesting, they pass through the connected filtering system. This filter collects the algae that are ready for processing, while the remaining algae passes back to the feeding vessel. These pictures are examples of closed cultivation system. Ito yung mga iba't ibang itsura ng photobioreactor. These are the advantages of photobioreactors. Una, cultivation of algae is in controlled circumstances, hence potential for much higher productivity. Second, large surface to volume ratio. Yung PBR offer maximum efficiency in using light and therefore greatly improve productivity. Typically, the culture density of algae produced is 10 to 20 times greater than bag culture, in which algae culture is done in bags and can be even greater. Pangatlo, better control of gas transfer, then reduction in evaporation of growth medium, more uniform temperature, better protection from outside contamination, space saving. This can be mounted vertically, horizontally, or at an angle indoors or outdoors. Reduce fouling. Recently available tube self-cleaning mechanism can dramatically reduce fouling. This table shows the comparison of open ponds and railways sa photobioreactor. In required space, sa open ponds, high, and sa photobioreactor is low. Water loss, very high, may also cause salt precipitation in open ponds, and sa photobioreactor naman is low. In oxygen concentration, usually low enough because of spontaneous outgassing. Then sa photobioreactor, built up in closed system requires gas exchange device And in temperature naman, sa open ponds, highly variable, some control possible by pond depth. Tapos sa photobioreactor, cooling often required by spraying water or photobioreactor or immersing tubes in cooling baths. So, shear usually low sa open ponds and usually high naman in photobioreactors. Cleaning in open ponds, there's no issue. In photobioreactor, required wall growth and dirty reduce light intensity but causes abrasion, limiting photobioreactor lifetime. Then, contamination risk, high in open ponds. Tapos, very low naman sa photobioreactor. In biomass quality, variable in open ponds and low in photobioreactor. Biomass concentration, low in open ponds and it is between 0.1 and 0.1 gram per liter. In photobioreactor, high generally between 0.5 and 8 gram per liter. Production flexibility, only few species possible, difficult to switch in open ponds and high switching possible. Then process control and reproductivity, limited in open pond and possible within certain tolerance in photobioreactors. Then weather dependence is high in open ponds and medium light intensity cooling required in photobioreactor. Start up in open pond 6 to 8 weeks and in photobioreactor 2 to 4 weeks. Capital cost, high in open ponds and very high in photobioreactor. Operating cost, low in open ponds and higher in photobioreactor. Having harvesting cost, high in open ponds and lower due to high biomass concentration and better control over species and condition in photobioreactor. Current commercial application, 5,000, 8 to 10,000 of algal biomass per year in open pond and limited to processes for high added value compounds or algae used in food and cosmetics in photobioreactor. So, mapapansin nyo dun sa table na mas magandang gamitin yung photobioreactor.
Yan. Preferably, mas magandang gamitin yung photobioreactors compared dun sa ponds. Kasi, marami siyang advantages and the only drawback is the capital cost and the operating cost na nagiging very costly. Pero yung production is mas malaki compared dun sa ponds, kaya magkakaroon naman ng mataas na revenue. And the next step is the harvesting. Before gawin yung harvesting, ginagawa muna yung process na flocculation. The addition of chemicals to algal cultures in order to induce algae flocculation is a routine procedure in various separation technologies. The flocculation, it causes the cell to become aggregated into larger clumps which are more easily filtered and or settle more rapidly. Yung mga flocculants na gagamitin, merong mga inorganic at polymeric organic. Sa inorganic agents, gumagamit ng aluminum ions tsaka iron ions. Yung lime naman is a common technique in water and wastewater treatment. Yung polymeric organic flocculants may be anionic, cationic, and non-ionic. Ito yung list ng flocculant and their type. Tapos yung optimal dose nila per liter at saka yung optimal pH nila. Yung alum, this is the polyvalent metal ion. Na optimal dose is 80 to 250 per liter at ang optimal pH is from 5.3 to 5.6. Yung ferric sulfate is a polyvalent metal ion from 50 to 90 yung milligram na optimal dose and the optimal pH is from 3 to 9. Yung line treatment induced magnesium hydroxide precipitate ion is a positively charged metal hydroxide precipitates. The optimal dose is from 500 to 700 and the optimal pH is from 10.5 to 11.5. Ito naman yung listahan ng cationic polymers. Yung Purifloc, ang optimal dose niya is 35 mg per liter at nagwo-work siya at pH 3.5. Yung Zetay 51 is polyethylene amine na optimal dose is 10 and the optimal pH is greater than 9. Yung DOTE 21M is a polyethylene amine na optimal dose is 10 mg at ang optimal pH is 427. Yung DOTE C31 is a polyamine again. Nag-range from 1 to 5 yung dose, yung optimal dose, and yung optimal pH is from 2 to 4. Yung Chitosan is a diacetylated polymer of chitin na ang optimal dose ay 100 at 8 to 8.4. Yung Chitosan, madalas siyang ginagamit for water purification. Pwede rin siyang gamitin as flocculant sa algae. Pero, this is very expensive kasi the shells of crustaceans are ground into powder and processed to acquire chitin, a polysaccharide compound found in the shells, from which chitosan is derived via deacetylation. Water that is more brackish or saline requires additional chemical flocculant to induce flocculation. Pero most commonly used na flocculants is the aluminum ferric chloride na ginagamit for the harvesting of algae.
So, the algae cells of B. brownie were filtered using a 20 micrometer nylon mesh and then freeze-dried. In harvesting, the final step in processing algae is usually drying and to dewatering slowly to a moisture content of 12 to 15%. Freeze-drying removes moisture from frozen material by sublimation. Freeze-drying algae has been found to be a dense food source for humans and animals. Blue and green algae may have additional health benefits. Algae benefit from freeze-drying in a number of ways because freeze-drying preserves the nutrients, creating greater potency. The resulting powder is conveniently handled and can be formed into tablets or in capsule. In freeze-dried from algae is easy soluble and absorbable. Freeze-dried algae is also used as food source for zooplankton growth and nutrient release studies and as fish food. Algae is dried for use as fuel in food. Drying such a delicate substance is very challenging and requires an innovative solution. The nutritional value, color, and flavor of algae quickly degrades when it composed to high heat and oxygen. The most successful algae drying techniques eliminate this destructive element from the drying process, which is the freeze drying. This is exactly what freeze drying machine does. A typical machine consists of freeze drying chamber with several shelves attached to heating units, a freezing coil connected to a refrigerator compressor, and a vacuum pump. With most machines, you place the material to be preserved on the shelves when it is still unfrozen. When you seal the chamber and begin the process, the machine runs the compressor to lower the temperature in the chamber. The material is frozen solid, which separates the water from everything around it. On a molecular level, even though the water is still present. Next, the machine turns on the vacuum pump to force air out of the chamber, lowering the atmospheric pressure below 0.06 atm. The heating unit supplies a small amount of heat to the shells, causing the ice to change phase. Since the pressure is so low, the ice turns directly into the water vapor. The water vapor flows out of the freeze-drying chamber Past the freezing point, the water vapor condenses onto the freezing coil in solid ice form. In the same way, water condenses as a frost on a cold day. Once the material is dried sufficiently, it's sealed in a moisture-free package, often with an oxygen-absorbing material. As long as the package is secure, the material can sit on a shelf for years and years without degrading until it restored to its original form with a bit of water. If everything works correctly, the material will go through the entire process almost completely unscathed. So these are the parameters in freeze drying at certain temperature with the corresponding vapor pressure. At 0 degrees Celsius, it is needed to have 611.15 Pascal, and at negative 5, 401.6, negative 10, 259.90, negative 15, 165.30, at negative 20, 103.26, negative 25, 63.29, and negative 30 at 38.01. As you see, as temperature decreases, the vapor pressure also decreases. So after harvesting, let's go to extraction. The algal cell of B. brownie at 943 grams were ultrasonically extracted with 50 ml of hexane for 30 minutes. It gave an oil as hexane extract, 50% of dry cell weight, and obtained 36% of dry cell weight. So this is single-step oil extraction. Single-step oil extraction. The single-step process harvests, concentrate and extract oil from algae, and separates oil, water, and biomass in one step. The process does not use chemicals or heavy machinery, and no initial dewatering is required, and separates the oil, water, biomass in less than an hour. The company's quantum fracturing technology combines with the electromagnetic pulses and pH modification to break down cell walls and release oil from the algal cell.
Challenges in oil extraction from algae. Microscopic algae suspended in water are virtually indestructible. So here are the challenges. The cell wall has a high elasticity modulus. Even when free water has been removed, wet biomass retains sufficient interstitial water to act as lubricant. And the last, rupture of cell wall through mechanical friction and steam explosion is only possible when dry. The feedstock is the whole algae. So our algae is Botryococcus brownii. It produces hydrocarbons similar to petroleum. So it will undergo the process of hydrochemical liquefaction or pyrolysis or gasification. So it will produce a biocrude oil similar to petroleum heavy oil. In order to upgrade the biocrude oil, it will undergo the process of hydrodeoxygenation, hydrocracking, and cracking to produce gasoline, jet fuels, and diesel. Certain properties of bio-oil, such as high density, high viscosity, high acidity, high water content, and oxygen content, and low heating value negatively affect the fuel properties of bio-oil. In order to improve the fuel quality, bio-oil has to be completely deoxygenated. So there are two different techniques to upgrade bio-oil as an end-use fuel. So I will discuss hydrotreating. So in hydrodeoxygenation, or HDO, hydrogen reacts with oxygenated compounds in bio-oil under high pressure and moderate temperature of about 350 to 500 degrees Celsius in the presence of a heterogeneous catalyst to produce water and carbon. So normally, there are two steps in hydrodeoxygenation. The first step, bio-oil is treated at around 250 degrees Celsius, followed by conventional hydrodeoxygenation at a higher temperature and high pressure. In this First step, the initial step is for stabilization in order to avoid polymerization reactions and coke formation. This step consumes a lower amount of hydrogen than the second step. The second step involves hydrodeoxygenation at higher temperature and complete deoxygenation. The second step, the catalyst normally used for the HDO process is sulfided nickel molybdenum or cobalt molybdenum supported on alumina. The hydrodeoxygenation process for a bio-oil of chemical formula CXHYOZ can be simplified. This is the simplified equation in hydrodeoxygenation. So our oxygenated compound will react in hydrogen to produce water and hydrocarbon. In the presence of heterogeneous catalyst at high pressure and moderate temperature,
This is another type of deoxygenation process. Catalytic cracking. In catalytic cracking, bio-oil compounds are deoxygenated in the presence of some shape-selective catalysts such as zeolites. Zeolite catalysts are acidic, shape-selective, and highly active, converting oxygenated compounds to C1 to C10 hydrocarbons. Deoxygenation with zeolites catalyst can be done in atmospheric pressure and does not require the supply of hydrogen. This is simplified equation of catalytic cracking. In zeolite cracking, the oxygen is removed as carbon dioxide and water. Cracking reaction involve the rupture of C-C bonds associated with dehydrogenation, decarboxylation, and decarbonylation, where dehydration is the main reaction. So, ang advantage ng catalytic cracking is that yung catalyst na ginagamit is low cost, while sa hydrodeoxygenation of bio-oil has been proved technically but not economically feasible. The conventional HDO catalysts are very expensive, and the high car content in bio-oil and coke formation shorten the life of this catalyst.
this is a simplified flow diagram ng hydrolytic cracking. In short, the reactor was a 6.5 meter coiled stainless steel tube of 6.35 mm diameter packed with 120 gram of a cobalt molybdate catalyst. The oil and hydrogen gas at 20 megapascal were passed through the reactor, which was held at 400 degrees Celsius. The liquid products were cooled and collected in knockout pots, surplus hydrogen being vented. A total of 160 grams of oil sample was fed to the hydrocracker at the rate of 230 ml per hour, and 127 grams of product was obtained. Itong picture, pinapakita nito kung paano nangyayaring cracking. So, merong mga cracking site, dyan nangyayari yung paghati para makaproduce ng iba't ibang products. So, kanina pinapakita yung mga cracking site. Ito naman, ito na yung mga products na na-produce sa hydrocracking. Yung paraffins, naphthens, olefins, and aromatics. Ito yung percentage nila by volume. 68.5%, 30%. Yung olefins is less than 0.2% at yung aromatics is 1.4%. Yan. Ito yung kanina, yung mga products ng hydrocracking. Yung PONA stands for paraffin, olefin, naphthens, and aromatics. Ito yung percentage ng volume. 49.5% sa paraffins, 0.1% sa olefins, 19.8% sa naphthens, 1.4% sa aromatics, pero meron pang unidentified na 29.2%. So, ang total is 100%. So, after the hydrocracking, mag-undergo naman ng distillation. So, ito yung mga products at different temperatures. The gasoline, yung pinaka low boiling point na may 40 to 240 degrees Celsius. Yung kerosene na may number of carbons from 10 to 18, siya yung second na may low boiling point from 175 to 325 degrees Celsius. Yung diesel na carbon 12 pataas is magbo-boil ng 250 to 350 degree Celsius. Tapos yung residuals na greater than 600 degrees Celsius ang matitira sa baba. So, ito yung makukuhang percentage per volume ng gasoline, kerosene, diesel, at residual. Sa gasoline, 67%, kerosene, 15%, diesel, 15%, saka sa residuals na 3%. So, in addition, oils from the algae, green algae Botryococcus brownie can be readily detected in petroleum deposits and coal deposits, suggesting that bee brownie has been a contributor to developing these deposits and may be the major contributor. That was according from the research. That's all. Thank you for listening. God bless.